Good morning. I was having a little broadcasting connecting issues. Oh, I barely made it up this morning, you guys. This is one of those days where I'm going to sound a little crusty, be a bit deep in my voice. Hope you all had a good weekend. I hope you're having a great morning. Oh, Shauna's going to the doctor today to find out about her foot. I'm going to give it just a second while people are joining, and I'm going to pull a card for all of us. And remember, if you would like a card pulled in this very first part, you just have to say that you'd like one. Let's see. Let me see what it feels like. I'm going to use my compass that we learned last week, right? The messenger oracles have something to say for all of us. You know, I have to tell you guys, it's kind of funny, like the Facebook Live, it tells you at the top, you know, who's watching or how many people are watching. It tells you when somebody just joined, but it doesn't actually always tell you, I found, because when I'm doing this, it always tells me I have 1 or 2 people watching, and no more than that ever. And it's so funny because by the end, there's like, you know, usually 30 or 40 of you guys here. So I really don't know if you're here unless you say something. And if you want me to interact at all with you, then you have to tell me. All right, let's see. What do we have for a card? So today I'm pulling 2 general cards for all of us. And one of them, the first one was, know that you care. I'm sorry, know that you belong. I just put the 2 together. Know that you belong. And the second one is, show that you care, right? I think that one of the things, what's popping for me, is what happens to a lot of us as empaths, is because we are kind of like these big walking balls of caring, and because we're these big like feeling balls, like we feel everything that's going on around us. Chris, you made it. Good job. So because we walk around and we are always feeling, and we are always picking up, and we're always receiving, a little bit of a head cold. It's one of those, these are one of those things that happen to us. We don't feel like we belong in the situation, and so we don't show how we care. We don't show how we feel. We're not showing what we're picking up. Now, how often do you guys find that you're in a situation where it feels one way to you? It feels like, it was so funny. It was so dark in here. I turned on a light, but that's too bright. So often it feels like, you know, you are the only person there and you don't belong. You feel like you're completely isolated, or you feel like if you were to speak up about what you're intuiting, what you're getting, you're not going to belong. You're going to suddenly feel exiled. You're going to feel like, oh, I'm not a part of that at all. And that's one of the things that happens to a lot of us. And we shut our voices down. We shut ourselves down. We shut our intuition down. We shut our gifts down. And when we walk away from that environment, we walk away blaming those people for being so closed. So here's what I found, and I'm just going to share this with you guys. And I would encourage all of you to just try, because something is happening. And in about 2 days, good morning, Andrea. In about 2 days, we are going to have a huge portal opening that is actually, I'm sorry, it's actually that it's closing, where all the adjustments that were needed, oh, good morning, Alex, all the adjustments that were needed before coming up to this point, all of that coming up to this point has been about balancing the energy, has been about opening and creating a space for people to awaken within. And so those of us who were designed and came here in order to serve as like a rudder to steer that ship, we started coming online first. Just like in a ship, the rudder is the first to contact that current that's under the water's surface. When you are doing anything in the water, you know that the surface of the water always looks very different than what's going on underneath the water surface. So the same is true energetically. Now, after New Year's, they're calling it the twin flame portal. After that, no, I'm sorry, not New Year's, Solstice. You see, this is what happens when I just wake up right before. At the solstice time, they say that it will be even more people waking up, even more people coming online. So while you are at that party where you're feeling like you don't belong, remember, know that you belong, and maybe you're there to be the voice showing that they care that's different from every other voice that people will hear at that party. And what I have found when I speak up and I share my voice is I can change and open and convert even the most staunch, unbelieving people to have a conversation that neither one of us thought we would be having. I have talked with ranchers, I've talked with doctors, I've talked with lawyers, I've talked with politicians, police officers. I work with priests and bishops and monks and all around the world of all different denominations. And you know what I found? They all want to connect better and closer to source, whatever that looks like for them. So it's really about learning how to share what we have. So I think that's why this is the message today for everybody. Know that first of all, you belong. You're right where you belong. Everything is perfect right where you are. And you're there to deliver what caring looks like, what true caring looks like, what love looks like, delivered unfettered, free, totally unintentioned, right? Like it's just there, it's just given. And when I give my reads, like my psychic reads or my intuitive reads, in general, now I'm not going to say always, but in general, the people are grateful. They're grateful because I'm confirming something for them that they had wondered about, doubted, felt insecure about for a really long time. So know that if you find yourself intuiting some information through your special gifts in an environment where you don't think you belong, that is the time to show it. That is the time to show that you care. That's what that's for. Every morning I forget to turn off the sound. So that is the general pull. Now, we have a lot actually that we're going to cover today. So I'm gonna just skip ahead and just start getting right into it, because we've got this portal coming up, we've got this new energy coming through, and you guys a lot of you guys have asked me what to do about it, how to deal with it, how to handle it, how do I handle it. So one of the things I wanted to start before we even do that, I got my new wee moon calendar. Is when I first saw it, I was really turned off by the wee moon concept, because I am one of those, if you follow my work, you know that I'm always trying to include the masculine. I think that having a balance of the divine masculine and feminine is really important. And I kind of viewed things like this as taking away from that balance and women separating themselves from men. I think that there's a reason that it's men and women. Oh, hi, Sarah. Nice to see you. So I just got my new calendar, and I was going through it, and there was something I wanted to read to you guys because I thought it was really beautiful. One of the things that this calendar does, I've been using it for about 3 years now, is each year it names the year. So this year's name, I know you can't probably read backwards, but is Stardust. Last year was the year of the Tower, right? The Joker card. Everything was deconstructing. Everything was falling apart. Everything was breaking down, and that's very true of what last year was. And they called it quantum leap, actually. The year before that was the Tower. That's right. And last year was Quantum Leap, this 2016, where everybody was leaping forward. Everybody was kind of having these huge, expansive understandings and awarenesses coming up. So this year is the Star. Star is the year of the Star. And they do it by tarot cards, so if you're familiar with them. Yeah, the devil was the wee moon for 2015. The wild card, or the tower, was for 2016. And the quantum leap year is for this year, actually. No. The tower is the quantum leap year. That's right. Okay. So, and then the star is for this year, because this year is all about the Stardust theme does not deny angst. Creative encounter with negative energy is still imperative. And I love that. I thought that was a really powerful concept, and so in keeping with myself and how I feel about things in general. There was another thing I wanted to read from here too that I really liked. Let's see, it was on page 7. If you're looking for a day planner, you know, and you're a man and you don't mind a woman-focused concept, these are the most amazing day planners because they have all kinds of other information in them. They have the lunar cycle, they have the sun cycle, they provide all kinds of charts so you know what's coming up. On every day, so like this is an example of my week, right? So on every day, they show you the phase of the moon, the date, right? And they have the days listed in other languages, which I love. And it shows you the times. It's a time chart of each of the different rising and setting houses. So you kind of have an idea of in each day of what's going on astrologically. It shows you solstice and key information, but then it also has these amazing things like images that inspire you. You know, I think I posted this one. This is next week's. It will have also, like, here's this theme for this moon. Stardust is all there for the first moon, which starts December 28th. We're right now in the 0 moon cycle of our 13 moon new year. And it will have poems and writings by other women. It's so inspirational. And it's hilarious. I found that as I go through my week, whatever the theme or imagery that's posted on or that's printed on that week or around that week is perfectly in line with what I need. For instance, was it last year? I think early last year, I was working with a woman and I had the bees show up in the middle of our session. And when I opened up my day planner to check out my next time, there was a bee right up in the corner, just a little one, but just a bee printed there. It was hilarious. Like, how did they know? Yes, you did, Alex. It's so true. I think you did. I think like a lot of us that are super in tune and willing to jump on that flow, that synchronicity flow, I think that we tend to have that happen. We went a little early on the deconstruction, and our construction actually began during this year too. So I agree with you actually on that one. And I love that you've settled back in. So one of the things that they wrote up in here this time is this little section called Eyes of Heaven. And I hope you guys don't mind me reading just this little snippet to you of that part. But what they talk about are the earth, the moon, and the sun from where our vantage point is. They're all the same size, like to each other in a sense. And so they talk about how, let's see, here we go. Because Earth is orbiting the sun at the same time, it takes the moon 27 1/3 days to go through all the signs of the zodiac, a sidereal month. The solar eye of heaven is apparent to the turning points of the sun's cycle. And the year begins with the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere, the dark renewal time, and journeys through the full cycle of seasons and balance points, solstices, equinoxes, and the cross-quarter days in between. The third eye of heaven must be seen in the stars. Astrology measures the cycles by relating the sun, moon, and all other planets in our universe through the backdrop of star signs. Help us to tell time, and they help us to tell time in the larger universal cycle. I just thought it was really pretty, the eye of heaven, the third eye of heaven, and the lunar eye. The lunar eye of heaven is seen each day in the phases of the moon, as she is both reflector and shadow, traveling her 29.5-day path around the earth. In a moon month, from each new moon to the next, 13 times in the lunar year. So the moon is always traveling around us. And, you know, I have had so much tell me how important it is to track the moon cycle and to kind of release myself from this soul cycle and kind of step into the lunar cycle a little bit more. And I think that that's part of the energy of this particular solstice that we're going to be bringing in. I think that's one of the reasons it's been pushing it, because what we've been doing over the last few months especially is really looking at inside of ourselves what doesn't work, what's not working in the way that we show up in our personal lives, in our family, in our work, in our service. So I wanted to ask you guys, well, first of all, let's see. I was thinking, I made some notes because I didn't want to lose track of this. Yeah. Okay. So in order to prep for winter solstice, one of the first things that we do, let's say we're a farmer and we are going to examine what we have done, what worked for us last year. This is the time of examination, of planning, of thinking ahead, of looking forward and looking back and finding that in between. So what worked last year for you and what didn't, right? And I think that now we have been trying to purge this karmic debris that we've been carrying both on our souls, on our genetics. And as we move forward, we're trying to find different ways to release this karmic debris, to release this belief debris, to release that which we hold on to in any way, consciously or subconsciously, that defines us as a separate and unique individual. This all beckons back to what I talked about, I think it was the first week, which is the separation wound. The separation wound is going to keep coming up because we are coming into unity consciousness. And as we come into that unity space, that coming together space, well, then we start to see, what is it that made me think I wasn't a part of you? What is it that made me feel like I didn't belong, right? And that's why that card came up earlier. Why do you feel like you don't belong? It's time to release that feeling. So look at it honestly. How does it serve you to not belong? Did not belonging give you permission to not adhere to the beliefs of others, to not follow the mood and the climate that others were creating around you? Did it give you permission to be your own person before? So now, what would it look like to bring the person that you are to the party and to belong, right? I think that's what's going on right now. So use this solstice energy to look at honestly and pull up, what are the things I believe about myself that leave me feeling less than, really? You know, what are the things that make me believe I don't belong in this conversation? My husband, you know, he's really highly educated. He's an engineer and scientist, and so his friends, when we first got together, his friends are all, you know, PhD'd and inventors and movers and shakers, and as he likes to call them, power couples and things like that. I felt so much like I don't belong. Here's me with some college, and, you know, with my ideas, and I'm pretty bohemian in a lot of respects. You know, I'm kind of one of those, I used to work in the corporate world, but I was not embracing the style. I was not stepping into the role. I was given opportunities by my amazing bosses, but I was not stepping up. I didn't want that life. So, you know, I stepped back and away from that, and I became a housewife and a mother, and I kind of let go of that identity of being a working professional person and making my way up something, which is what I had been working towards. I feel like I'm kind of going all over the place, you guys. I'm sorry, but I will try to wrap this into some focus. But however, I would go to these parties with my husband and meet his friends, and I would feel like, oh my God, I don't have anything to say to these people. And you know what I found? they don't have anything to say to each other. It was some of the most, I'm sorry guys, but boring parties I'd ever attended. And it wasn't until I started talking that things started to get a little interesting, because, you know, here I could throw something out and then they all were talking about it. And then they're like, you know, analyzing it and, you know, processing it and theorizing about it and, you know, all of that stuff. So it was a very interesting and humbling experience where I realized that here I had this idea in my head that a person who completed some sort of higher level education, that took themselves on a professional level to completion, or to what I view as some sort of completion or launching state into their own, you know, realm, I viewed that in some way as something that would make you better than. Because it was something I wasn't successful at achieving. It was not, and something I kind of, as a younger person, thought I wanted. So I viewed myself as less than these other people who had these things that I thought qualified you as being successful. And I inhibited myself. I withheld myself in that environment. They didn't tell me to inhibit myself. They may have raised an eyebrow at something I said, but you know, I'm used to that. So it was my own limitation that made me think, I don't belong in this party. I don't belong with these people. I don't have anything to share with these people. I have nothing in common with these people. And it wasn't until I let go of that little girl that was afraid of being chased out of the party or not being invited in the first place, and let go of her hold on me, and instead said, hey, you know what, little girl, you can come with me to the party. And even if they're being silly or weird, I'll talk with you. I'll be your best friend at the party. And we'd go and we'd show up, and I'd have great times. Oh my gosh, those people were amazing and so funny and so curious and so full of wonder. And when I would talk about a concept like the love frequency, they're like, wait, what megahertz is that at? And I'd start to talk to them about it. And then they're telling me about, well, this happens at this resonant frequency. And this is the resonant frequency of such and such. And wow, so much information that I never would have gotten had I not just talked about the frequency vibration of love. So I'm begging you, I'm begging all of you to show up at the places that you're at. Show up wholly. If you're walking along and you see somebody and they look a little down, find something to say to them, to connect to them. Let them know how much you love their shoes, if that is all you can find to say, and ask where they got them with true joy and wonder, and watch that person unfold and open up. Watch that person awaken into that space between the two of you. So this summer solstice, I'm really hoping that all of you guys can find a way to connect with each other, that in such a way that you've denied yourself permission before. I'm going to put this out because I know how much of my family members watch this. And Dan, I did see you join. Hi, good morning. So many of my family, I have a huge family. And you guys who've been watching this regularly know that my cousins, my niece, a lot of people show up also for this that are in my family. Well, my family is scattered. We are scattered. We don't talk to each other in general anymore. We have a lot of dysfunction in the family in general at large. And the hilarious thing is all of them say to me, you're the only one I talk to in the family. You're the only sane one. And I laugh because that's what they all who talk to me say. And I think I've got like 60 or 70 of you guys that follow what I do. And I think that's hilarious. So I'm just putting this out there, family. If you're watching this, there are others that are out there that don't think so differently from me, that are much like me. So remember, we're all this big giant family. Yeah. And having said that, I feel like obligated to put this out there. My mother and I currently, we don't speak to each other. It's kind of sad. And I'm not looking for sympathy or empathy at all, but my mother and I have a hard relationship. We have a strained relationship because we are so similar. We're so similar, and she did her best to try to raised me in a way different from the way she was raised. And I think a lot of us as parents do that. And we end up in conflict with our kids because, well, first of all, they didn't have the set of experiences that we particularly had. So they don't have the context to understand our reactions or our emotions. And I share that with my mother. Now, in the instance with my mother, you know, I tell people all the time, show up and be who you are. Well, for my mother, that was not comfortable. And so she chose that she does not want to, she released me from being her daughter. So, you know, I'm not always perfect, but the mother-daughter relationship is challenging, Jody. So remember that as you are connecting with your daughter and as your daughter is connecting with you, you both are just doing your best. You both are just trying as hard as you can to connect and reach out. And by healing that rift, we find ways to heal other rifts with other people. That said, you know, Mom, if you're watching this, I do love you dearly. Yeah, I'll go with you to therapy. I don't think you'll like what I have to say because it's not much different than what I said before, but that's okay. If you want to receive it, I would love to have a conversation with you about it. But this keeps coming up, right? This theme, this mother theme, this mother-daughter theme, this parent-child theme, this man and woman theme. These are all aspects of the separation. They divide us. They're what makes us feel like I am separate from you. So as we feel separate from each other, it's funny, I just kind of turned a slight tone change into the blue scale, which lets me know Michael's coming through to remind us, ooh, quit trying to protect yourself from each other. Quit trying to protect yourself in your communications. Because sometimes we do need to do a little bit of cutting. Sometimes we do need to do a little bit of biting. Sometimes we need to show up as that force, that wall, for somebody else to hit up against until they go, oh, I put a wall there. And that's part of the mirroring too that we do for each other. Okay, so solstice. What do I do to prepare for solstice? All of that backdrop of everything else is telling you that's kind of what my list of things for my solstice. What worked for me, what didn't work for me. Well, it worked for me actually not being in a conflicted relationship with my mother. That was really working for me really well because I used to put a lot of energy and worry into how I could show up for her. And realizing that taught me that I actually don't have to show up for her. I don't actually have to show up when I think that I do. So the card that said earlier about you belong and to be honest about what your feelings are, those are part of them too. I don't like showing up in some situations. So maybe I won't. And in those situations where I choose to not show up, I also know that it's not like there's no other opportunity to work on or heal that wound than with that one particular person. Everyone in my life is going to be a piece of that mother role. Everybody I encounter is going to hold a piece of those roles that I have to heal, so I can also heal that way. So if you have a conflicted relationship where you have to totally choose to step away and create space and boundaries, that's not a failure either. Maybe that's a part of it too, is deciding I'm going to step away from this. This is one of the reasons I teach the compass, because for each person where you're at in your development, you're the only one who's going to know, is that really where I need to be? I had to learn to define myself as separate from my mother, especially because we are so similar. She's psychic, I'm psychic. She's a potter, I'm a potter. She's, she did tarot reading, I do tarot reading. She's an, interest in psychology, and I think she's going to school for psychology. I use a lot of psychology, and I've been studying psychology as well, just less formally. So we have so many similar themes. She's more of a painter and drawer, I'm less. She's a guitarist and singer, I'm learning and singing and guitaring. So, we have a lot of commonalities. And when you have so much in common, sometimes that's just everything butting against each other. You need something that's different to fit in the spaces that don't fit for you. So maybe there's just too much of us and we need to just spread out. So this part of ourselves that beats ourselves up about, this didn't work, or I'm not doing that, or that's not what we're doing with this solstice list. We're not building a beat Jessie up for everything that she did wrong list. we're building a list of, do I want to invest more of my energy and time in this crop? Is this crop working for me? No. What might work there instead? I do the same thing in my business. I started out 2 years ago, a little over a year and a half ago, doing a different show. I started doing the Crystal Cocoon with some friends. I didn't feel confident or comfortable showing up by myself. So I got some friends who I felt super confident and comfortable. I'm like, you guys, come join me. I want to do this show. Don't you want to be on podcast? Let's do a podcast. And I got some friends to help me. Amazing producer, Eric. Oh my God, I would have been lost without him. He was awesome and he made us sound so good. And I've never sounded as good since, Eric. I just want you to know. And we did that for a while, and then it didn't work anymore. Oddly enough, around last year's solstice, we started to realize, oh, this isn't working. It took us a few months to accept it and really break it down and deconstruct. Then I started something new. I started coming back to my healing pathwalkers, leaving the crystal cocoon. And over this year, I'm looking, okay, so I built classes. I've had the classes as live classes. Attendees were not working. You do feel, that's awesome, Alex. I love that you feel like yourself more. That's awesome. So yeah, I looked at the classes and I had built programs and classes for people to attend live, online, from anywhere, knowing, okay, most of the people who work with me are from around the world. So they want to be able to attend, and they couldn't possibly attend in a Portland event, so we'll do it in the online classroom. And then as I started doing the classes, the students, they didn't want to attend the live class. They'd wait for the recording and listen to the recorded class. So then it was like, well, okay, I'm the only one showing up, and I'm showing up each time, and why don't I just record all of these classes? I thought they'd want to interact with me live. No, then I stepped back, made the recorded classes, and that really freed me up. And I'm like, okay, hey, well, if you guys need any one-on-one, I can add that. I can add a one-on-one time to the classes and take away that I'm live with you each time. Sweet. Okay, so I did that for a while. That worked. And then it was like, wow, they don't even want to take them on the same timeline that I think. Like, I'm thinking you should be taking one of these classes every 2 weeks. My monkey brain. And they're like, that was big. I'm going to take like a month or two before I start the next class. And I'm like, really? Really? Because my whole thing is growth and expansion. How much can I grow as quickly and safely as possible while still remaining comfortable and graceful? That's like how I go. So again, I had to adjust. Maybe this isn't, right. Maybe this isn't a 3-month program. Maybe this is just a program that you take at your rate. So I made that adjustment and that change. Still getting over this cold. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about take a look at what was working, what wasn't working. My show that I was doing through YouTube wasn't working. So show up for the Facebook Live, works really well. I'll keep investing energy in that. Oh, look, now it's created a space for me where each week my week is organized. And now I can go and approach my week in a different way. So this is what we're doing in this solstice time. What works? What doesn't? How can I move forward more gracefully, more fluidly, and more in allowance? Those are the questions that I use to evaluate and understand. So the new year, or the winter solstice, is actually on the 21st of this year. So that's this Wednesday. And what I was thinking was on Wednesday, we will talk about more specifically things like shining the light of source into your dark space, into the dark parts of you. We'll go more into that sort of a healing. But I was thinking for today, what we would look at is more perspective shifting. How do I shift my perspective? And I can't quite remember if we did this on here or not, because I do a lot of different stuff. So, and if we did, hey, it's worth a recapping. So I thought what we could do today is to take a moment while we're together Let's see, we've got about 25 minutes. Take some of my smiling coffee. Okay, so this might be a little bit longer of a meditation because we're just going to work on some things that prevent us from being able to lovingly self-examine with compassion and joy and a sense of wonder for ourselves, okay? So take a moment and just start feeling yourself in your chair. If you need to adjust your body, maybe you need to move, maybe you want to lay down. I need to stretch because I'm still waking up. Ugh, was up too late. Okay, so take a moment and just feel your body. Make sure your feet are comfortable on the floor. I've got stuff at my feet. Make sure that your back is straight. You know, feel your body. Check in with your body. Does it feel warm or cold? Are there aches or sore spots? Challenge areas? Just observe and allow. And now start to bring in the breath. Breathing in as we breathe together, and exhale. Breathing in. Oh, people are already starting to release. Very good. And exhale. Breathing in this present moment. All the way down into the belly. And exhale from the belly. Breathing in. Now imagine you're breathing all the way down into your root. And exhaling. Now breathing in, driving your roots even deeper. And exhale, drive them even deeper. Really anchoring into the here and the now. Now as you let go, exhale, release, let go of the identities of any other connections that you may feel. Let's say you're connected to other lifetimes, consciously, other realities, other consciousnesses. A lot of people I work with stay up here. And then they struggle with the here and the now because they're up here. So as you breathe in this time, I want you to bring yourself all the way down into the body. All the way to the feeling the tips of your toes. And exhale, release. That which holds you out here. If you've been having really expansive meditations and dreams, as far out as you go in those, we must come back in to the whole, to the present, to this physical expression. Remember, you incarnated here for a reason. This is where your expression is manifesting itself. Go ahead and breathe in. All the way to the roots. And release from the roots. If you notice, as I get more and more into this state, my breath, it changes. My in-breath gets longer, and my exhale gets longer and more forced or controlled. This is how we include the breathing mechanism in our releasing, our control of our energy, our flow, Notice how already your flow is stronger. And begin drawing up through those roots that Gaia energy, loving and supporting and holding you here. Giving you that platform to stand on. Feel her energy in that pulsing rhythm, like the ocean tide coming up the beach, rising up through the body. Lots of releases here for you guys and myself. It's awesome. I feel that energy in the knees and up in my thighs. Where do you feel that Gaia energy rising to? Take note of it. Observe it. Sometimes I feel inspired to move my hands. Sometimes I need to create a little bit of a whirlpool of energy, this whirling action to help me break through some staunchy or sticky or tar-like energy that sometimes I can hold in places in my body. My knee is starting to ache a little bit, telling me, yeah, when you're stubborn. I don't know what it's talking about. Let that energy continue to rise. Ooh, this is somebody else's, so we'll just keep moving it up. Just imagine, just like the ocean kind of pushes all that debris and junk up to the surface, up to the shore, so you can see it. Just spits it all out, so you can see it all. Just let it all come up, just like you're spitting out these pieces that you're no longer needing. See, I got the energy up here and starting to come up into my head, and I'm starting to feel the things I brought up for myself by talking about my challenge issues, my feelings of need to connect with my mother, right? My struggles in that. I'm starting to hear in my mind the limitation words that she used to use, the language that she used to use that would make me feel small, make me feel insignificant. Thank you, body, for showing me you've stored that there. Thank you. Thank you for holding it. Thank you for holding it so I would never forget, and I would hold on and remember, and now I can see it, process it, and release it. I don't have to hold it anymore. Because I can see now that was all designed to allow me to shift and change and grow into my unique self while we lived in the separation. Thank you. And when we thank our body and show gratitude to both ourselves and that which causes the source of our challenge, we already shift and lighten up in that whole place, in that whole realm. So notice if you have that going on for you. Are you having things come up about who limits you or who engages with you in such a way that you feel damaged by? Thank the body for holding that as it shows you these things. Thank it and be grateful. And now see, how did that serve you? How did that help you? Coming up into that crown as we open up our crown, just like a tree opens its light arms up to the light, opening up and letting that source energy shine down. To me, it feels like liquid gold honey just pouring down into my crown. Soothing all those parts that were sore or achy. Usually it makes me feel like giggling, kind of like being tickled from inside. Oftentimes now when I'm bringing this energy down, I hear the little thoughts and my guides and some communication. So if I'm laughing, it's just because they're funny. That's why I'm funny, because they're funny. Continue bringing it down. And as this energy comes down through the body, I like to imagine it's just full of like liquid stem cells in this perfect bath of solution that allows them to grow into whatever it is that this void space they're filling needs, whatever's optimum for me, for my growth, for my alignment. And if you feel the urge doing this to touch any part of your body, like right now I'm feeling the urge to rub and soothe my stomach. I'm actually rubbing my stomach in a counterclockwise direction, which tends to mean a removal. I'm assisting in the release of that which defined me. And my stomach, hey, I'll release from there. That's good. So I'm releasing. Let go of the idea that meditation is sitting in silence, that meditation is sitting motionless, non-reactive, non-interactive. Meditation can be many things. All it really is coming present in whatever way works for you. We're not in that time where we're supposed to go sit in a cave anymore. Feel that energy now dripping down the roots as you serve as a conduit between Source and Gaia. Allowing Gaia's energy to pulse up into Source and Source to just drip down into Gaia. For some people to flow. Now I want you to think of a situation that you have had particular challenge with or struggle with over this year. Something that you would like to look at differently. Something that you know your wounded belief system, your victim filter, is obstructing you from seeing truthfully. So take a moment, look at that situation. Allow it to blossom inside of you. Notice your physiological responses, if there are any. Your emotional responses. If you're finding yourself like I am right now, having to kind of burp or clear, or maybe it comes out the other end, I'm really grateful mine's more up. Those are releases. That's energetic releases. As I think about my situation, see, this is the heart healing. Heart and lungs are really connected. Kind of cloggy feeling in the lungs. I kind of have a cloggy feeling in my heart about this issue, so clearing. Now, as you're taking note of all these changes and shifts that are happening as you play out in your mind the situation that you're struggling with, I want you to imagine that that situation that you're struggling with is right in this ball. Just visualize a sphere in front of you. It's right here in front of you. And you're going to start actually looking at that situation again, but from this outside perspective, as though you're the most magical genie with her crystal ball. And look in at that situation from this outside perspective. Take note of the changes in your body as you release the situation from you and put it into this sphere in front of you. as you're observing the situation unfold, as you're observing it play out, I want you to play too. Imagine that sphere is surrounded in a glowing pink and green light. Pink light, green light, swirling all around this ball. Just imagine it. Shining in on the situation, not trying to change it, just shining that light. Pink and green, these frequencies of the heart. What color green? What color pink are they? Are they clean looking, clear? Are they cloudy or dirty? Is it a different color entirely, this ball of light? What color is it? Ask the ball and sphere to show you where the biggest struggles in your chakra system there are around this issue. Show you on your body where you're holding beliefs about this issue. And then just like you're picking up an apple from your fruit stand of yourself, pick up those pieces and put them inside the ball until you can see all the parts, all the pieces. They're in here, not in here. We get really internalized sometimes with things, and there's a reason that we live in an external mirroring system. It really does work. So look at this sphere. Now I want you to turn the ball all the way around and look from the perspective of the other person participating in this experience, this situation. Ground and connect. Know that the energy right now is reforming new pathways, new understandings, new allowances as you shift from your perspective into another's. And note, you're not trying to determine if their perspective is right or wrong. You're not trying to shift anything, only observe. This is not about change, only observation. And see if you can really find their perspective of that situation. And if you can, try to see how that serves them. If you have little parts of yourself that are popping up, defending, speaking out, or contradicting the perspectives that are being shown, thank them and let them step inside the sphere too. They're part of this. They're part of what's defined you as separate from what's limited you. Ooh, my whole ankles just popped. Oh yes, I can see from your point of view, Mother. Sad, sorry. And allow. Now, if you're watching this as a recording, go ahead and pause and continue with the sphere. It's because you're also helping us and you're shifting and transitioning too. Alex, oh, I love you. So, we're going to use this angelic tool that was taught to me by a healer and then explored with me by angels. It's the rose, using that rose. So I want you to, inside of that sphere that you're holding, when you're ready and you've got all these things in, and you can actually start to see from their perspective, begin to grow between the two of you a rose. Let it ground itself, the bush, just like you're grounded, maybe even incorporating into yours and their roots. And now let that light of source shine down on that rosebud that's just starting to form on that bush in between you guys. See the rosebud blossoming, coming out. Feeling that light just beginning to open, and then let it expand. Let that rose unfold. And let it grow in that light and in that grounded space until it's the size of the entire sphere that you're holding. So all that's within that sphere is also within that rose. You, them, all that's between, all the beliefs. And just imagine that that rose is turning gently. And as it turns, it's beginning to already soften and heal and release that which wounded, that which defined, that which separated. And imagine that you have not just the light of source shining down on this rose, but a full prismatic crystalline light coming down, shining on that rose, on that sphere. And as it shines, the rose itself turns into a crystalline rose. And just let it continue to work until you feel like it's done. You can stay in this space as long as you want. You can put another situation in your sphere and build another rose. This was pretty cool, and it actually just came through. I've never done it this way before. Enjoy the rest of your morning. I love you all. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being you. Thank you for recognizing you belong and sharing the way you feel, the way you're experiencing what's going on for you in your life. By showing that, others can show up more fully too. I love you all, and I'll see you in the morning, especially if I wake up early enough.